I'm really excited because of the generous support of the Long Beach Community Foundation and then some other funders of ours. I can actually work on the practices side and really support the folks in the community who are doing great work to do even better work. And so I'm in the process of working here in Long Beach with all of you, so glad you're here. We're also doing things in New York, we're also doing things in Hollywood, so we're all over the place. And so when we do introductions, I want everyone to say who you are, what organization you're from, what you want to learn from today, and then what you want to take away from today. So how's that sound? All right, I'm going to start with, on my right.
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Sherry Weaver. I'm with Work First Easterfield, Southern California. And I actually live in Long Beach. And I'm just here to learn. I don't know what I want to take away. Whatever you give me.
I'm Christopher Spencer. I'm an employment specialist with Social Vocational Services, and I don't know what I want to learn everything from this.
It's a good attitude.
I'm Gabriel Palomares, Director of Community Development for Social Vocational Services. I'm also excited to be here and, hoping we get a lot of good stuff out of today's meeting.
My name is Mia Preciado. I am an employment specialist at Social Vocational Services. Like everyone else, I'm just here to learn something.
Thank you.
My name is Andrew. I'm with ICANN, one of the job developers here, a few others of us here to network and learn what kind of resources we have and try and find jobs for disabled people.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
Chris Casella, also from ICANN, the job routine supervisor, and just here to be educated and to understand more about respectability.
My name is Scott Elliott. I'm also with ICANN, and it's just an honor to be here to continue to expand our understanding of SCP programming, not only in our small window, but across the state.
My name is Jennifer Mercado, and I am here with the job development team for ICANN, and I'm excited to be here to see what you guys have to bring to the table and network with everybody here.
My name is Stephanie Kelly, also with ICANN. And I think, we're just here to learn and see what respectability has for us.
My name is Blake Van Steenberg. I'm the Support Employment Program Manager for ICANN again. I'm definitely interested to learn what we can do practically to help increase the employment rate for people with developmental disabilities, things that actually help get jobs. Those are things I'm definitely looking forward to talking about.
My name is Mike Carl. I am also from ICANN, believe it or not. I'm a job developer there, and I'm just looking forward to learning more about respectability.
Okay, just a quick question. Who from ICANN isn't here?
I'm Sandra Mapley. I am the mother of a young man with Down syndrome who has his own business, also has a job, and is on a television show.
Hi, my name is Lori Resnick-Fleischman. I am with the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles. I am the Senior Director and I oversee our initiative Living with Disabilities and Special Needs. And for 2018, we're doing a series on employment and accessing jobs. So I'm here to learn and see if anybody wants to participate and basically just get to know everybody. So thank you.
I'm Kayla Crow. I'm a job developer with Ability First, and I grew up in Long Beach and live here, and I'm really excited to learn about different resources and opportunities that my current and my future clients will have that I can strengthen for them. So we can build those bridges, and I can continue working with the community that I love.
Wonderful, thank you for being here.
My name is Marian Harris. I'm a case manager with Ability First. I hope to learn new tools that help you support the clients that we serve.
Good morning, my name is Raul Munoz. I am a USC MSW intern with Fiesta Educativa, and I'm here to learn more about employment strategies that will further help employ people with diverse abilities. That's really needed and appreciated.
Good morning, my name is Armida Choa. I'm parent coordinator from Fiesta Educativa, and I'm here to learn about respectability.
Thank you for being here.
Good morning, I'm Sharon Nakamoto, and I'm with Long Unified School District, and I'm here to learn.
Good morning, I'm Regina Todd. I work with Long Beach Unified School District Bell Promise Program, and I'm here to network and meet individuals who also work with students or people with disabilities, help them find getting jobs locally.
I'm Julie Gibbons, and I'm also with ICANN. I'm kidding. I'm in Long Beach Unified, and I'm excited to just make connections so that we can bring back resources to our students.
I'm Allison Brown. I'm with Long Beach City College Disabled Student Office, and I'm here just to learn and get much resources for students.
Hi, I'm Vivian Hahn. I am with the California Charter Schools Association. I work on their special education policy team. I am here, like everyone else, to learn. I would love to learn specifically how to replicate these kind of multi-partner, local community collaboratives. I think it's so exciting. I'm also here to encourage you to please reach out or think about connecting with students who attend charter schools. There are over 55,000 students with disabilities who attend charter high schools. Many of their teachers and administrators are hungry and yearning to connect with you guys and the services that you bring, whether you're at districts or agencies. So I'd love to connect with you.
All right, Delbert.
Hi, my name is Delbert Wetter, and I'm a business affiliate, and I work an independent film. I have an independent film company, and I'm excited to be here in Long Beach. And Long Beach, you know, has your own partnership. Oh, you have your own battleship. How could you not love that? So thank you for inviting me here.
My name is Jacqueline, and I am with Hillside Enterprises. We're actually just down the street here, and we work at it's like a sheltered employment facility. So just here to learn how employers are really connecting with the community, and we have a new internship program that we're trying to help start and grow there.
I'm young, and I'm Jackie's colleague. We do the same thing at Hillside. So we're here to learn some new strategies.
Wonderful. Thank you all for being here. Just quickly from the doorway.
Yes, so I'm Jennifer Mizrahi, and I'm very honored to be the president of Respectability and to be here with all you amazing people who are on the front lines of helping people with disabilities get jobs. Phil Conpali is a superstar at this stuff, and Debbie is the newest member of our team and really a liaison to partner with all of you, especially here in Long Beach. So we're very excited to have her on the team. And I know that we're filming in the back, and we have a team that helps us back in Washington on our work in Long Beach. And I'm hoping that the shot that you're getting includes ASL, does it? Excellent. It does. Because we want to be sure that everyone has access. So I'm also just taping because there's a lot of us who really care about the success of you guys in the community, and not everyone could fly out from DC, and we all want to know, how we can be supportive and helpful and good partners in the future. And so let me turn it back to my colleagues.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. And first of all, as is the typical, you have to start with a lame joke. And so, well, I'll say this, I feel like I'm putting on a singles happy hour, and only men showed up. So I do apologize, we did a huge outreach push with local businesses and local employers. We talked to the Chamber, we talked to the Downtown Long Beach Alliance, and they said, oh, this is a great event, but I can't make it. And so I think that that's a lesson, and I think that's an opportunity for us to reflect on, all right, how can we work together? How can we build out contact lists? How can we, figure out where are the industries are growing and where we can, build the connections.
ASL so that I can get you both.
And then how can we, build those connections together? And that's really what I hope to accomplish today. And then since you're close, Jennifer, can you also move the slides?
You bet.
Well, we all care about people with disabilities. We all work on these issues, and so, it's important to just remind us that this is a widespread challenge. That 1 in 5 Americans has some form of a disability. In total, in Long Beach alone, that means there's total 46,000 people with disabilities. And obviously, a lot of the organizations here are directly connected with youth and very youth focused, and that's very, very important because if we can intervene early in a young person's life, give them skills, give them training, you all do this. then we can set them on a path for success across their entire lifespan. And that's an idea that we're going to come back to a lot in talking about all of the different pieces that feed into ultimate success, ultimate connection with employers, and it all begins when we're very young. So next slide. And it's important to remember that, in some way everyone has some form of connection with disabilities. Whether you're talking to an employer, you can ask them, do you have a family member with a disability? Because odds are they're going to have some connection. And then if you have that kind of personal connection, that can help you build that working relationship to really, get people engaged, get them excited, and get folks jobs. So the next slide. Again, I know this is pretty elementary stuff, but it's always important to think about the fact that there are visible disabilities and there are invisible disabilities. And those conversations are, when you talk about those differences, it's important. It's pretty easy for somebody to think, oh, somebody has a wheelchair, you need to have a ramp to get into the business. They may not understand, how a learning disability impacts somebody, how it impacts how they learn, how they can develop skills, how they can, be prepared for employment. And that's always important to think about. Sometimes the physical challenges are the easiest to solve, and those social deficits, particularly say if somebody's on the autism spectrum, that can be a more involved conversation. So next slide. But it's important that we always remember that there are successful people with disabilities, and that some of the most successful people are people with disabilities. And we always like to showcase, brand names, big names of folks, who have had some substantive impact. And they have a disability, and it's part of who they are and part of what they do. So, think about Whoopi Goldberg or Harriet Tubman, Selena Gomez, or any number of people. There are amazing celebrities out there who have disabilities, and those images are important because they shape how we think, and that's why we do a lot of work in Hollywood as well. So, next slide. I won't bore you with all of the statistics. As I said, we're looking at about 46,000 people with disabilities. That's across the entire lifespan of folks with disabilities living specifically in Long Beach. And according to the most recent statistics, only about 9,000 folks have jobs. And I know all of you are on the front lines trying to change that, trying to push that number up. And together, I think that we can. And we can do that by building these kind of new personal connections and making referrals from one group to another. You all know this, but people with disabilities, face endemic issues related to poverty, and that's always important to think about. That people with disabilities can be often, the poorest of the poor, and particularly when it comes to kind of areas that have economic challenges, like Long Beach or the greater Los Angeles area, that those differences can be really big and important to keep in mind. So, but we have the school district proudly represented. So, shout out for what you're doing, and I knew that the Long Beach Unified School District was big, but I didn't realize you were actually the 4th largest district in California. So that is a huge pool of students with disabilities to support into success and to feed into your internships, to feed to LDCC. And it's really interesting. I earlier this week had the chance to go to the ACT program and do some photography with our photographer, and it was really great seeing these kids who have some serious challenges, but they are incredibly diverse, they are incredibly energetic, and I know that together we can help them succeed. We're looking in total, as I said, about 9,000 students with disabilities K through 12. That's a big number, and every year it's a pipeline of students who are leaving the school system. They're either graduating, they may be dropping out, they may be facing suspension, and those are all intervention points where we can align things, we can support folks and get them to succeed. And it's really interesting when you look at where Long Beach kind of as a microcosm of the nation. It's got a great high school graduation rate for all students at 84%. And then the challenge though is that students with disabilities are at 62%. And that's just below the national average. Just to put things in perspective, you're doing a lot better than places like Nevada, Mississippi, Alabama, places where the high school graduation rate is closer to 50%. Georgia is in the 40s. So you guys are doing something, you're doing a lot of great work. But there are ways that we can work together to boost that number up. So next slide. And then it's important again, when you're looking at all of these different statistics, it's important to think about kind of that spectrum of disability, the different issues that are going to come up. And I know the church is a little small, but you're all going to get a copy of this in your email box tomorrow. And so we've got, that total 9,000 number. The biggest percentage by far are learning disabilities. No surprise. Those are the invisible differences that impact students, the way they learn, the way they relate, the way they process information. And just to keep in mind, statistically, when you look nationally, one of the biggest reasons why folks drop out of high school is because of untreated disability issues. They don't get diagnosed as being dyslexic. They don't get diagnosed as having dysgraphia. And those issues can kind of compound into social behaviors that impact their ability to graduate and whether or not they get suspended or start being absent from school. And then, looking across the other spectrum, you've got about 2,000 have a speech or language impairment of some kind. You've got 1,500 students who have deaf blindness. The autism statistic was a little wonky just because of the way the data worked, but I am sure there are more than 0 children with disabilities who have on the autism spectrum.
No,
So,
it's 1526.
oh, sorry, I'm looking. Oh,
Visual impairment.
Oh, okay. There we go. Sorry. Look weird. Okay, so we're looking at 1,500 kids with autism, and then that number is, as I said, moving through that pipeline. And whether it's the school to prison pipeline or the school to success pipeline, we have the power together to change that outcome to really impact those lives. So next slide. One of the issues that kind of looking from, as I said, from the 50,000 foot perspective, it's important to think about the way that absence in school kind of impacts the learning process and how it changes the way that, how far the barriers that people are starting to fall behind. Because if you're falling behind in your schoolwork, that's going to impact your ability to develop job skills. It's going to impact your ability to graduate. And so you've got chronic absenteeism that's impacts about 24% of high school students with disabilities in Long Beach. And then when you look at kids who are K through 8, about 15% are chronically absent. And so, particularly for the folks in the school district, there are compelling reasons why students may be missing class. It could be indicative of classroom environment. It could be indicative of bullying. And so those are all issues that we need to keep in mind. Even though we're focused on employment, these issues factor into that and help kind of shape the life story of the youth that we're going to be supporting. So next slide. I'm going to skip through some of these, like Los Angeles County, just as a point of comparison about where you are in the greater regional area. Next, here we go. So suspension rates. We're looking at about 8% of students with disabilities in high school being suspended. And so that's a total of 243 kids. If you get suspended in high school, that can really start putting you at greater and greater risk of falling into the school to prison pipeline. And that's an intervention point. Nationally, how many of you, I'm going to throw some jargon at you, so I apologize, but how many of you have heard about ESSA? Any takers? One person. What is ESSA? Yes?
Every student succeeds at.
Okay, what did ESSA do?
It essentially replaced or overtook No Child Left Behind. It is the federal law that that governs student accountability systems for public schools in all states.
Wonderful. Correct answer. The interesting thing, and now this is a big change, but it's going to have the ripples that it's making nationally are rippling down to the state level, and when they ripple down to the state level, it's going to ripple into local school districts. One of the interesting changes in the ESSA, for example, is there's actually a new requirement that all justice-involved youth, so youth who are in the juvenile justice system, have to be assessed for disability. And that's a big change. So if youth get suspended, they get arrested. Legally, they are now going to be given the opportunity to be assessed for disability issues. And that's going to create a chance that if they haven't already been diagnosed with an issue, they may catch something. And then they're supposed to be paired with supports. They're supposed to get an IEP while they're still, completing whatever sentence they've been given. So that's a very important kind of thing to think about. This is like an issue that nobody has dealt with before. And yes, there's always been special ed in juvenile justice, but this is kind of a new realm of expanding that pool of people who are going to need help. So next slide. And there are job pieces to all of that. So now I want to actually stop talking and actually start talking amongst ourselves. So first up, as the agenda calls for some facilitated dialogue.
Only the food hasn't been delivered.
No.
Now, food should be arriving soon, but let's start talking about really.
Let me go back to the
Yeah, you can go back.
I'm wondering, Debbie, can the flip chart and you go over there so you can find me stuff?
We're flexible.
Before we start talking,
Yes.
can you just give us an overview of like what brought you here?
Oh, of
that's
course.
today, that sort of thing?
Of course. So Respectability, we are a national nonpartisan nonprofit organization that is focused on fighting stigmas and advancing opportunities for people with disabilities. So what is the national organization doing in Long Beach? Well, to be honest, part of why we took on this new kind of effort around working with local communities was we kind of tore up our agenda for after the 2016 election, to be perfectly honest. We said, all right, we're not going to do Washington. What can we do instead? And so we thought about all of the work we've done over the years around the workforce system, supporting workforce boards to better understand how to serve people with disabilities, better understanding how systems work, and more importantly, how systems work in local areas. And one of the biggest challenges that we have often found is that there are silos, there are barriers, that good people doing good work in a community don't know each other. And so we came up with this idea that through collaboration, through cooperation, we can facilitate connections that may not have been made before. Getting people to talk to each other in a structured and a way. And so we've been looking at different communities, and Long Beach was the first community that came through. We got a small little grant from the Long Beach Community Foundation, because we pitched them to say, hey, you've got a great school district, you've got a great workforce board, you've got all these different agencies doing great work in the community, but they may not know each other. And how can we better support them through learning, through collaboration? And so that's why we're here. We're not here to replace anybody. We're not going to try to put you out of business or anything like that. We are here to help you, to support you, and really enable all of you to better achieve what you want to achieve. So that's the short preface to that. Thank you. So, questions, comments, smart remarks?
Let me also just add that most of the work nationally around disability has been towards children of white two-parent families for whom their language is English. And we intentionally picked Long Beach because we intentionally wanted to focus on the English second language learner with a disability who has a unique set of challenges that has been unaddressed in other places. And because you have a Hispanic mayor that will understand that there are unique challenges that can be addressed, and because we believe that immigrants are the innovators and the hard workers of the future, that if our country essentially writes off children of color and English second language learners with disabilities, who in many cases are the most talented people in a room, our nation is really going to be harmed. So we see in Long Beach a potential for a national example of things that can be replicated in other places, because people, if you look at the National Disability Organization structure, by and large you have a two-parent family that's white that has a kid with a disability, and so they start an organization about the one particular disability that the kid has, as opposed to across all disabilities and all backgrounds. So we're trying to sort of bridge that gap.
Great. Did somebody join us?
Hi. Andrew Edwards, press secretary.
Oh, welcome to meet you. So one of the things in kind of looking at a lot of the research is there is, important expectations. The expectations of parents really shape the ultimate success of children. And obviously, parents love their kids. But sometimes the messages that parents receive about the ultimate success or independence of their kids, they may get, they may say, oh, just put them on benefits, or get them supports. And that's all important. But the important message is that, when a child gets diagnosed with a disability at an early age, when they are born and they may not be born with a disability, one of the first messages that they need to receive is that there will be a way for that child to succeed, that ultimately there will be a path for that kid to go to college or have a job and be independent. So I'm curious, I kind of want to open up that kind of beginning of the early timeline. I know all of you are, doing a lot of work with youth, but what kind of messages, what kind of ideas can we come up with to support, parents and communicate to them that, okay, your kid's 5 years old now, but in 13 years they're going to be ready to go to the workforce. And so how can we get those messages about all the great resources that you guys offer, all of the great supports that your organizations offer? How can we make sure that, parents, in the back of their minds, are thinking 10 years ahead.
Well, one thing I've heard from parents is our service system in California kind of chunks, and a lot of families like or would like support over time to like try out doing chores at home or try out getting that summer job, taking the neighbor's trash and that sort of thing. And I feel like that, you know, they're not doing that naturally like maybe other families are doing, or treating their child with disability a little differently because they think that won't happen. And so I'm working on a project in Orange County on something similar, so we're looking at being able to do that, come in with resource, and help families try those things out with a helper who's probably a peer mentor. But I think that's key, and then key to that also is the public benefits piece as well. Yeah.
So, Gabriel,
I think you should probably start off as like when you're a parent and you have a child with a disability when they're born. You start working with a social worker right away, and I know that a lot of social workers are not even, they're so used to kind of just dealing with the whole fact of like the coping of the situation that, maybe from at that beginning, you can already start having examples of people who actually have success stories. I said I just had a child with a rare genetic condition, and luckily I've been in this field for a long time, where some of the stuff I was able to share with the social worker actually started educating her about, what I've experienced, so, and I could tell that they weren't as, informed as they probably needed to be, and I started thinking, wow, luckily I'm where I'm at, but other parents who are faced with this situation from the get-go are not really aware that, like you said, we'll be able to succeed, or we'll be able to be independent, and I think you should start there, because, there's a lot of time right there where you're already kind of trying to picture more or less where your child will be at in the next 5 years.
So I think thank you for that.
I'll just add on to his statement. My neighbor just had a Down syndrome daughter, and they didn't even know regional centers existed. They didn't know the scheme for their mind of what's next for them. They didn't have a category or no organizations to refer to. And my wife and I, who love disabilities, we were super excited to have a neighbor with a Down syndrome baby, so we were over there all the time, like, sharing ideas with them, resources in the community to help them. But somehow the education from the hospital side, from the very start, the doctors need to, provide families upon birth even, like, hey, here is where you're at now, and here's the roadmap. There is a life for your child that this child can live with diverse abilities, and kind of provide them that roadmap from day one.
Absolutely, thank you, Scott. Sharon.
In our district, we're pretty fortunate because we have a lot of parent meetings and trainings. So we have special ed, and we have the superintendent's forum, the district community advisory council, the ELAC. So I just want to bring speakers around diverse educational information. We need to start training our parents and letting them know what kind of services are available to everybody. And it should start, well, for us, it starts at the district level and then goes on to the school. So I think that's important because a lot of the parents come to all the meetings, so they share this at their school sites as well.
I always thought that programs for parents, we help our clients transition, as they grow older, transition. But I don't think there's much focus on the parents also transitioning along with their child. And letting them go, but still being present. I think a lot of parents have difficulty with that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've always thought, gosh, there really should be like classes or programs set up for parents specifically, just the parents, to maybe get a different perspective.
Absolutely. I'm glad we're all kind of seeing pieces of that. And there were two things that jumped out for me, what Scott said, what Gabriel said, what you mentioned as well, what Sharon said. And I think, as you say, that connection of parent to parent, that those peer connections, is that let's be honest, a school district can give people a lot of information, but it can be easier to relate to another parent who's going through the process. So I'm curious, how can we better support kind of parent-to-parent connections? How can we support those kind of conversations? What tools can we come up with Yeah, do that.
Well, to go along with what he had said earlier about the parents don't even know about Harbor Regional Center, coincidentally, LA Fitness is right next door, and I was talking to someone in their human resources about SBS and the program, and she started talking to me about her brother, and wow, he really could benefit from the program. How does he get in? And so I had to tell her about Harbor Regional Center, and it was as if she had never even heard of it.
Gotcha. And Blake had his hand up in the back.
Well, I think to the question of like how, I mean, you could pull up a calendar right now of every single class that Harbor Regional Center offers for parents. You could look at all the classes that Long Beach School District offers to inform parents. You could look at all the sessions that the different vendors and providers offer, as seminars, things like that, to do outreach. We can list all those different events. We can try to come up with different tools. And so I think that those things are happening. So that would be kind of my constructive, hey, let's look at it. We are doing things, but still, when you look at the system as a whole, there's breakdowns no matter how many tools we're providing.
Oh,
so the entry point idea, that Scott had talked about. If you look at corporations, they're really good. The for-profit sector is really good at making sure they make their money. So they're going to make sure, when someone comes in for treatment, that might lead to respite care, they're going to make sure that doctor has resources available to be able to direct, that family to different resources where their family member could receive services. How are we doing that at those specific, entry points?
Gotcha. All right, Julie and then Vivian.
And then, so it's that warm handoff to the next step, I think is what's missing. And then too, you have things that are supportive services that are not there, for example, transportation, right? A lot of, the single parents get around on the bus.
Yep.
And then they might have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids, multiply around here. And so, how do you get childcare? If I'm trying to take care of one child to meet their needs, but then who's going to take care of my other 4 kids? So I think it's that warm handoff, and how do we then have those supportive services to make that happen?
Can I speak to that point real quick? If we look at other, World Relief is an agency that helps resettle refugees. So if you want to talk about someone coming from a paradigm where they have no clue what they're stepping into, but they need to be informed, so that the way that their organization is structured is a refugee family is assigned to their program as soon as they're identified. Then the World Relief organization sets up an in-home meeting where they go in and actually have a person that goes in and does a session where they explain the different spectrum of how to get your Social Security card, how to try to apply for services, what different programming are provided, necessary to your situation, how to get a job, practical things. So that would be the warm handoff introductions, but really integrating with the family. And kind of as Jennifer stated, the families in Long Beach have maybe specific challenges that other families don't have, transportation. But one thing that everyone has in common is, everyone has a home, and that's a comfortable place to have honest conversations.
That's really great. So Vivian and then Gabriel. So,
one of the things that comes to mind for me in hearing everyone's comments is a sense that people just don't even know what's out there. And I think part of the problem is if you can't see it, you can't be it. Or you don't know that your kid can be it. Because if you talk to a lot of parents and families, siblings, whoever, if there's a child with a disability, many of them will have no idea. They can't even picture how that child can grow up to be a gainfully employed adult or to go on to college or do anything like that because they've never seen it in their own communities. They've never seen it. They might have seen people in a day program, they might have seen people in a workshop. There are no role models that are part of their everyday life. So what I would love to be able to do is to facilitate those types of opportunities for more families to be able to see our success stories in the same way you might have, young girls who've never seen that many female scientists to have opportunities, right, to have that, and not just see them like at a panel or an event, but maybe have some interaction, have some mentorship. if you have a first-generation Latino family who maybe they live in a rural town, they don't know anyone in their immediate community who is, gone off to college and then become a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. Their lives can be changed once they have established that relationship with someone who's traveled that path. They see that it's real, and it's much more real than if I or someone else from the outside comes in and says, hey, I have a story for you, and I have a bunch of facts and programs. It's that connection that's real. I just don't know how to make that happen on a broad scale, but that's what I'd love to see.
You could tell them to watch porn this way.
Again, I am only speaking from experience because the condition my daughter has, only 1,100 people in the world have it. And what my wife and I were able to do, we were able to connect on social media with people on Facebook, who were already 20, 30 years old, and actually living with the condition, who we were actually able to connect with directly, and sometimes when you have questions, as to where to go, who to talk to, you can talk to them directly as to what they did and how they made it happen, where then you can make a better informed decision and move forward, and start to kind of build your own experience.
So, social media, can be a tool to support, those peer-to-peer connections, parent-to-parent connections.
Right.
So Sharon and then Rick.
Okay, this is really good that everybody's here to know each other. Based on what I just want to add to what you have to say. We can do like a parent institute with all the different organizations and have training for all parents. Offer it to everybody, because what's lacking, and I work with a lot of parents, is like you said, they don't know where to go for resources. And so if we work as a group and develop this 1 day or 2 days parent institute where we have different workshops for everybody, and then working with the district, maybe, because what we do when we have parent institutes is we bring the parents to, like, let's say Milliken, and we've had this in the past, and there was a whole day thing where we provided lunch, and everybody's did a training, and then we also had community agencies right there so the parents can go to get some information. So that's something that maybe in the future.
I was going to say, Rick, you've got Harbor Regional Center's got something coming up. It's really cool.
Well, we have a transition fair coming up in April, and so that's one of the things we do that a couple times a year. But also, we also have a mentor program, a parent mentor program, which is not enough. But but that's something that can be expanded. But building on what you said, maybe that could lead to some more parent mentors. And so I think that we have a lot of nice pieces. We need to connect them, and then we need to expand them.
So Rick, if I can ask you, because we put together a resource guide that I'm hoping everybody here got the resource guide that Respectability put together, and so you can pass that around. But who can come to the two fairs could the other organizations have booths and put out information to encourage?
They've already been invited, so that's ongoing, and then I know the schools have fairs that we also do. So I think what it is like maybe on social media would be, do we have like a site that we go to that lists all our different activities so that people can get a overview? Collaboration. Yeah, collaboration.
Well, I was going to say, that's actually something that Respectability has done. So I've talked to some people when we were developing this, and so what we did is we reached out to, I think it was about 200 organizations. We asked for contact information, we asked for their address, we asked for a mission statement. And so the resource guide is categorized according to youth programs, adult programs, all those sorts of things, and it's free on the website, free on our website. And I'd certainly encourage you, if you can pass it to your folks, put it on your own websites, that would be a really wonderful thing to share. It's, we did a hard copy version to start with, it's online, it's free. But something we've done since then is we put it on a website called Jason's Connection. Have any of you heard about Jason's Connection? Getting a lot of head shakes. Jennifer, what is Jason's Connection?
So Jason is a young man with autism whose family has created a free online portal for resources. And so now they're developing with an Excel sheet that any organization can upload all of their information onto this centralized resource. And they have social workers and they have special needs attorneys that are free. So that you can go in and you can put in that you're in Long Beach and what it is that you're looking for in terms of a service. It's jasonsconnection.org, and they have a lot of the different nonprofits and service providers, but if there's something missing, they're very happy to add that on. but you can custom search, and then if you don't find what you're looking for, you literally email them, and they will have the social worker or the lawyer help somebody for free as a resource provider for parents who are looking to navigate for supports.
And that's great. The only problem that runs into is the fact you got, sometimes there's a digital divide. It's like, how often do people, it's like you can put something on a website, but if somebody doesn't have internet access, that creates another barrier. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, 17% of the families in Long Beach are not on the internet.
So that is, we need to get stuff online. We need to make sure it's free, but we need to also make sure that people get hard copy too. So. And the last question before we pivot to lunch.
I think that the one difficulty with having all these resources available and resource guides is fantastic. But oftentimes with families, they need a navigator just to wade through the list of resources. They can read or they can go through the entire list and not fully comprehend what this 3-sentence description of the organization was, because they have no idea, and so it's very difficult for them to just on their own or in talking with another parent to truly make the best use, like the most optimal use of that. So to also pair that resource with someone who provides counseling, advising to help you with.
So
we have time because we're setting up lunch out there, so
Oh,
we
okay.
have another 5-10 minutes, and I think this would be a great opportunity to pick up on your, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And Jennifer and Philip, maybe you want to talk about on the big scale picture what Respectability is doing in Hollywood for that. Very close. It doesn't get down to the one-on-one, but it addresses the big changes we're trying to make.
So the other part of my shop is Respectability's organizational mission is to fight stigmas and advance opportunities. I'm the advancing opportunities piece, and they're all part of that mission while working with us. The other piece is fighting stigmas, and actually earlier this week we got to unveil our new Hollywood Inclusion Toolkit, because we're trying to promote authentic, true stories of people with disabilities, get people behind the camera and in front of the camera. So there are details about different types of disabilities, details about terminology, and so it speaks to the kind of the pop culture piece of if you can see it, you can be it. So as an organization, we do the Hollywood stuff, and we also kind of see that as changing minds, being part of shaping employer attitudes and getting people hired.
So if I can add on to that, Sandra, who's here, her son is on Born This Way. And so you've probably seen Sean on the show, and Christina, who's on the show, her dad is the president, I guess, of the Harbor Center, right? So it's like a local show that has 1 million fans, and it's modeling best practices around high expectations for youth with developmental disabilities who want employment and, to the extent possible, independent living, and to have a real life like getting married, which Christina is engaged in. That's like a big storyline on the show. So the show has 1 million fans. It's had 22 episodes on the air so far. Many of them are shot here in Long Beach, which is very exciting. And additionally, it's now gone global, so it's being watched in Japan and in Spain and in Latin America, trying to show that people with developmental disabilities can have a higher importance that way. This year, because of the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, because of other things around stigma reduction, not just that show, but many other shows, including people with disabilities in a positive way, not a pity frame, but an empowerment frame. But the combination of the amazing work that people like you are doing on the front lines and employers taking advantage of the talents of people with disabilities. This year, there were 4 times as many jobs, new jobs for people with disabilities as the year before. So the previous year, there were 87,000 new jobs that people with disabilities got, 87,000. But this year, there was 343,000 new jobs, which is a 4-fold increase. Now, if we want to see continued massive increases, one of the best things that you can do in terms of the jobs that you get for your clients is if you can get them jobs in Hollywood. And I don't just mean being in front of the camera on Born This Way, I mean if you can get them in catering, or in environmental, or in filing, or in something, because the people who work in storytelling do not, we've done focus groups with them, they do not have people with disabilities in their world. They don't know them, they don't see them as capable, they don't put them in the storyline. So you may have seen, who saw the movie La La Land? Did anyone see La La Land? There are like 300 people in the opening scene. There's this big dance number on the LA freeway, not a single person with a disability. And when we talked to some of the filmmakers, they said it just didn't occur to us because there's no people with disabilities sort of in their world. So if you have the opportunity to develop a program, an apprenticeship program, an internship program at one of the studios, that would really help, because then storytellers would start to know that people with disabilities can be very, very capable and start to put them into their stories, which causes a ripple effect which will help all the other industries and all the other jobs.